Hello everyone, and welcome to a little patch note rundown of the developer update for the upcoming 9.2.0 PTB that is coming in on next Tuesday, because it says that the 9.2.0 update arrives next week, and Tuesday is usually the day that the Dead by Daylight updates. And so here, even though they say August 2025, this is the 9.2.0 is going to be, let me actually check my calendar, right? Yeah, Tuesday is going to be the 2nd of September. So really, like, neither here nor there. It's kind of a little bit back and forth, but I was reading through these notes when I woke up this morning, and there are a lot of really controversial things in here that are just going to have people at each other's throats. But I really do want to go down line by line and share my thoughts on a lot of these things. Now, if you're new to the channel and you're new to my commentary and everything, I am very much a killer main. I'm very much from the perspective of a Deathslinger player. That is a lot of the biases that I might bring to the table here overall, but I do try to empathize and play a little bit more of both sides, because I do understand that there is two sides to this game of Dead by Daylight. And without further ado, let's go ahead and read on down to what we have here. So, well, okay, that's kind of funny that we don't have the GIF loading correctly, but whatever. Slugging reduction update. If a survivor is left in the dying state for a total of 90 seconds during a match, they gain the ability to pick themselves up after fully recovering. So what I think that I like that this does is that this basically makes it so that the killer can't open the game and immediately think, my only main game plan is that I'm going to keep everybody on the ground. And I think that for a lot of killers, this is a viable strategy, but it's also one that completely takes away agency from the survivors. Now, perks that enable you to recover from the dying state, like Boon Exponential, will continue to function as before without needing to meet this requirement. So this probably doesn't include Plot Twist or Unbreakable or No Mither or things like that. You can also enable or disable this mechanic in custom games, so, which I imagine they would disable this in any like comp match or anything like that, because comp usually, even in comp, they have the anti-camp like unhooking mechanic, and you're actually not allowed to use that if you're in a comp match, from what I remember, from what I understand. Gradually increases crawling speed for survivors left in the dying state. Add the ability for survivors to recover while crawling. Recover now occurs passively without need to hold a button. Update several survivor and killer perks to account for these changes. So I'm looking to see what these perk changes are, because they haven't really said anything yet. We'll see when the PTB notes actually come out, because this is just the dev update side of things. Recovering while crawling is kind of insane, actually, because then that means that you can crawl to a location, you move a little bit quicker towards your allies, and I think this is like a really good buff for survivors overall. And it's also left in the dying state for a total of 90 seconds. So this is not a consecutive 90 seconds, it's a total of 90 seconds. So this really hurts a lot of killers that that have slugging as part of their base kit power. I'm thinking specifically characters like Oni, like Twins, and I think that Oni was addressed later down the line when I was looking over the updates for this, but Twins is probably really hurt by this, and I didn't see any update for the Twins about this. Granted, there aren't very many Twins players, and that's probably why they were looked over in general, but I do think that this does hurt a couple of killers specifically, but I do like this in the sense that it's trying to dissuade killers from just keeping people on the ground for the majority of the match. 90 seconds might seem a little low, or maybe this could be like a consecutive 60 seconds or something, or a consecutive 75 instead of a total of 90, because if you slug somebody and then you have them underneath a pallet, let's say, and you know that there's other survivors nearby, you're like, well, shit, I can't pick this survivor up because there's other survivors nearby, so I have to go and chase somebody else because they have a flashlight or they're under a pallet or something along those lines, and you keep that person down for 30 seconds. And then later down the line, they do another similar thing, and they chase for another 45 seconds. And then later down the line, they do the same thing again, and then they're down on the ground for 15 seconds, and then they have their base kit unbreakable, right? I think that's something that can be really easily abused in this regard, but 90 seconds is in like an entire generator's worth of time. It's a whole hook state plus 20 seconds on the ground, so it's not like a terrible timer, but I do think that the total of 90 seconds is something that can come around to bite some people in the ass, especially because Dead by Daylight is very imbalanced in the sense that the side that has more coordination will be the side that wins. If the killer knows what they're doing on their killer and they're better coordinated, they'll usually win the match. If the survivors are extremely coordinated and they know how to use all the mechanics to actually play around the killer and they know how to play the map properly, then the survivors usually win because of it. So I think that this is something that is good for like solo queue, but it's something that is especially powerful for anybody who's in a survive with friends queue. So, as my overall thoughts on the slugging reduction, we'll see how that goes. I do think it's like a good anti-toxicity change, but I also think that people who try to play the game legitimately could very well get hurt by this as well. We know when it comes to the flesh rate, allowing the slugger to slug occasionally when they feel like it's the right call will eventually kick in and swing in the survivor's favor. Slugging is used excessively. A big part of this is also making the experience of being slugged more pleasant. The recovery changes and crawling speed will give you a bit more agency. Oh, one other thing actually about this is that because you have the increased crawling speed, you can just crawl into a corner and recover yourself and unbreakable in the corner away from the killer. And if you have soul guard, you get endurance out of that if the killer comes to pick you up in a corner. So you waste so much of the killer's time if they decide to come pick you up. And if they don't come pick you up, then it's like, it has the same effect of deliverance, where you can unhook yourself or you can pick yourself up in a really inconvenient location, and now the killer doesn't really know where you are, and then you're able to go around the map and continue operating as normal. Conviction's a very strong perk for a similar reason, but I digress. We're going to go into the tunneling reduction update. This is probably the one that is the most controversial overall, but let's just break it down line by line. So when a survivor is hooked, their hook status is hidden from the killer. When they're unhooked, there is no notification and their hook status isn't revealed immediately. This is disabled once all generators are completed. So when a survivor is hooked, their hook status is hidden from the killer. When there is unhooked, there is no notification and their hook status isn't revealed immediately. So what I understand this to mean is that when a survivor is unhooked, there will be a delay in the UI as to when they actually were unhooked. So unless you're within direct line of sight of the survivor, you're not going to be able to know if and when they are unhooked unless you're nearby and actually listening for the unhook or keeping eyes on the survivors, which means that you now have to keep a much closer look on to where these survivors actually are. That's a major concern for especially indoor maps, when you already can't really see the hook behind a lot of obstacles, and then survivors get to stealth a lot more because then they're hidden behind a bunch of walls, and then the hook status isn't shown right away. And even if you're not going back to hook as the killer, knowing in your head, oh, that loud sound notification indicates that somebody was unhooked over there, that means that there's two survivors over there, and that means that I can then count and be like, okay, well, that means that we could potentially have one or two survivors on this generator or one survivor on this generator, and it helps you with your overall counting ability. This very heavily punishes new killers, especially killers who might have seen my guide where I talked about how one of the best things that you can do as a killer is try to count survivors. When somebody gets unhooked, you know that there's two survivors there. Pretty simple. But now when a survivor is unhooked, there's no notification and the hook status isn't revealed immediately, which means that there might be two survivors over there, but you won't know right away because the system inherently tries to hide that from you. So I think that this is something that it does definitely punish those people who are like, oh, well, someone got unhooked, let me go run back over there immediately. Like a nurse player blinks straight back to the unhook notification like a moth to one of those blue electric bug zappers. But the problem therein is that it's really punishing for killers who might be new to the game, because then they won't understand when a survivor gets unhooked, and they won't be able to gather that information quite as easily. Unhooked survivors gain the following effects for a limited time: haste, endurance, and elusive, which we'll read about that a little bit below. Status effects. No collision with other players. I'm so happy about this. The number of times that you get body blocked by a survivor who has their 10 seconds of endurance after they've been unhooked is uncanny. It's actually kind of annoying because it's like, I don't want to tunnel you out. Get out of my way so I can go track down the person that you were body blocking for before, and then you down them and then kill them, and then they're like, damn, I can't believe this killer's tunneling, even though the fact that you were body blocking made it so that I couldn't like chase anybody else. You were presenting yourself on a silver platter there, basically. And so having no collision is actually a really, really nice change, because usually whenever survivor gets unhooked, I'm not trying to chase the survivor that's been unhooked. I'm trying to chase the rescuer right away. So I'm very happy about this change. I think this is a nice change, and also it makes it so that they can't get cornered into a location by the killer and get knocked down. So I really like this. This is probably like my favorite line in the entire update here. Immunity to killer instinct, and they see the killer's aura nearby. This is a really strange, unintentional nerf to Xenomorph and the Legion, actually, because not a lot of killers have base kit. Oh, I guess Dredge as well, but not a lot of killers have base kit killer instinct, if I'm remembering correctly. So Xenomorph just getting unintentionally punished for being for this limited time after being unhooked feels really bad, because now you actually get like free looping, you get free killer aura off of being unhooked, you're immune to killer instinct, so Xenomorph can't see you, the Legion can't see you, and I don't know, I feel like the aura might be a little bit too much. Immunity to killer instinct also just feels like it targets a specific set of killers. It is nice though, because like if you're unaware of where the killer is coming from or anything along those lines, and you want to make sure that you are staying safe, you're like, okay, I don't need to communicate with the team. Makes solo queue a lot easier, because then you know the direction that the killer's actually coming from. And I believe that if it were haste and endurance and elusive, I'm assuming that this effect here, this immunity to killer instinct and seeing the killer's aura nearby, will last for the same duration that you get the haste and endurance effect, which I believe is 10 yeah, it's just 10 seconds base kit anyway, so probably only this for 10 seconds anyway, which, funny enough, if someone's bringing like Will Make It or Botany Knowledge with a med kit or something along those lines, is enough time to heal somebody. So now we're back to the conundrum of healing perks being too strong in that regard, and sometimes, like when I know that people are healing under hook, I'll go back to hook to prevent that from happening. Or if I'm running Scourge Hook, Gift of Pain, or Weeping Wounds, whichever one, if you have a license or not, Weeping Wounds, I know that I'll have to go back to hook, especially with leverage, so that I can dissuade survivors from healing and maintain pressure by keeping them bleeding the whole way through, which I know is like a bit of a toxic play style, but it's also a way to counter people who heal under hook all the time and people who bring all these healing effects. It's something that's actually a really good thing for me to counter a really strong strategy right now. And now with this immunity to killer instinct and seeing the killer's aura nearby, I feel like this is something that makes it so that it actually improves those healing effects, because now you get to get free looping. These effects are lost when the affected survivor performs a conspicuous action. It's kind of already what it was before, so I'm not going to dwell on that too much. And all these effects, except for haste and endurance, so you don't get the killer instinct, and you do get collision, are disabled once all generators are completed. So you get collision in the end game. I don't think that you should get collision when all the generators are completed. I just don't think you should have collision after being unhooked in general. That's just how I feel about that. The haste and endurance, yeah, fine. Like, that's been in the game for over a year now, so I'm totally okay with this. I think that they should just still have no collision, though. Added a unique effect to the killer hook state UI that indicates the last survivor they hooked. This is really good, because now this actually buffs perks in the sense of Grim Embrace or Pain Res, because then you know, okay, I already hooked that person, already got my Grim Embrace stack off of them. I can then go find somebody that is not specifically that person. And when you have that unique effect added in, you can then already assume that is one hook counter, because you don't have hook counters on the killer side. You do on the survivor side, but you don't really have it on the killer side. So adding this basically gives them that extra UI. After completing a unique hook, the same survivor that is not hooked consecutively, killers get the following benefits. They get bonus damage for the next generator kick, they get a temporary haste status effect, they reveal survivors that have less or equal hook states to the hook survivor, and this base get barbecue and chili, but it reveals survivors. There's no range that is written on this. Effects are slightly lessened for the Blight, the Dark Lord, the Ghoul, the Hillbilly, and the Nurse because of their mobility. That makes sense. I think that's what they say down here as well, or somewhere along the lines. And these effects are disabled once all generators are completed. That's fair. I think that's totally fair. Survivors don't get their effects once all generators are completed, and so killers shouldn't be able to get them as well. That's totally understandable. That have lesser equal hook states to the hook survivors. So temporarily reveals with no range. This can really mess up some survivors who are... this actually is a really big nerf to Deliverance, come to think of it. Like, let's say that you're playing stealthy and you're playing around your teammate that's going to get hooked, and that teammate gets hooked, and so you get barbecue and chili base kit, doesn't have a range limit. If you're hanging nearby that hook and you get revealed and the killer sees you because of, you know, a unique hook, you get revealed. You lose your chance to actually get a good Deliverance effect off of this, which is crazy. So I think if this has like a range of 20 meters or something, that might be a little bit better. But if it's like any range, if it's just all survivors that have lesser equal hook states to the hook survivor, that's kind of nuts, actually. I think that that's just, you know, base kit or reveal. Any range is fine. Oh, there's somebody there hovering for a Deliverance save? Yeah, not anymore, buddy. This also makes Agitation Starstruck a lot stronger, funny enough, in that perk combination, because you Agitation, Starstruck, hook somebody, get your aura read, and then that person that's nearby, if they're unlucky enough to be nearby, or they're intentionally trying to be nearby because of how survivors sometimes hover for hooks when they're close by, you are exposed and revealed with aura. There is nothing that you can do. Temporary haste status effect is nice. This actually really helps killers that are lower on the tier list, especially because they take so much time to get a survivor killed that they need whatever help they can get. Bonus damage from the next generator kick, I'm not too big a fan of personally. I mean, not because of the bonus damage is nice, but it's a generator kick, so this means that this doesn't work with other regression events. Like, let's say that you have Surge or Pain Res, that doesn't affect it. Surge is not like a fantastic perk. Pain Res is a fantastic perk, but Surge isn't really that great of a perk when you compare it to all of the other regression perks. It's probably the weakest in general of the regression perks because it only works on basic attacks, and it also only works within a certain meter radius. So if you're on the wrong map or you're on the wrong side of the map, Surge just doesn't get a whole lot of value compared to a lot of other things. So it kind of sucks to like see this effect not really work for Surge, but it does say bonus damage for the next generator kick. There's no timer on this like you have for Pop Goes the Weasel, which means that you can kick something maybe outside of your Surge range to get more bonus damage. Either way, this is still a nice change. I'm just like thinking of all the other things that killers can do with this that just isn't probably put into consideration. But again, this is a dev update, so we don't really know the full numbers. Added new effects that disincentivize tunneling. If a survivor dies before 6 total hook states, all remaining survivors gain a repair speed bonus for the rest of the trial. I think 6 hook states is slightly too high. I think 5 is probably more manageable because at least you're alternating your hooks with another survivor along the way. Like, you'll hook one survivor once, and then you hook someone else twice, and then you hook that next person twice, or you Hook one survivor, hook another. Hook the same survivor as the first one, hook another. Hook the same survivor a third time, and then they're dead. I've had games happen like that before, where a survivor will keep running into me, or I incidentally keep on finding them consecutively, especially if there's like a map that it's hard to find survivors on, like an indoor map. Again, indoor maps are a scourge on Dead by Daylight, and I think that they are terrible, but that's also, again, from a Deathslinger main perspective. The problem with that is that if you're having a rough game, or you're having a game where you literally can't find anyone, but you keep finding the same survivor, and they die at 5 hook states, then all the remaining survivors gain a repair speed bonus for the rest of the trial, after generators are already going by so fast. You'll complete like 2 chases, and you'll be down to 2 gens, basically, it feels like, if you're not bringing regression in the current meta of things, which is how it always has been, but I think that there's a lot of other things that have been complementing the survivor playstyle at this point, that generators are just going to be going by really quickly. Either way, I think that 6 is just slightly too high. If they drop this down to 5, I think we'll be at a really happy medium with this. If the survivor that was last hooked is sacrificed or killed, generators cannot be regressed or blocked. If the survivor that was last hooked is sacrificed or killed, and generators cannot be regressed. So does this mean that, like, if a survivor dies before 6 total hook states, then if that survivor here that dies before the 6 total hook states, does that mean that generators... This is worded really weirdly. If the survivor, not that survivor, or if the survivor that was hooked before 6 total hook states is sacrificed or killed, generators cannot be regressed or blocked. The first thing that comes to mind about this as well is how this punishes Onryo. Like, if Onryo gets a maximum condemn stack on somebody early, and they kill them early on before 5... Well, let's say that they kill them, and then the death usually contributes to hook states, and they die at 6, or they die at 5, then generators cannot be regressed or blocked. I don't agree with this. No deadlock, no holds barred, no grim embrace for the rest of the trial. None of your regression perks. You just have to, like, fly by the seat of your pants and hope that you can actually get into chases and beat survivors. And I don't really agree with that. The other thing that I also don't like about this is that if a Swift team sends in their one person to die at 5 hook states, and they're really coordinated, again, Dead by Daylight's a game that rewards the team that's more coordinated, then for the rest of the game, they also, not only does the 3 remaining players gain a repair speed bonus, but also generators cannot be regressed or blocked. Which is kind of nuts, because usually at 5 hook states, you might be down to 2 gens. Even with regression perks in the game. Like, that's just how fast generators are going right now, because survivors are smart about doing their objective now. So I really, really, really don't like this line at all. Like, it is a anti-tunneling thing, I guess, but I just... this combined with 6 total hook states feels a little bit too punishing for the killer side of things, even if it's like an incidental thing. And I don't think that you're getting tunneled out if you're dying at 5 hook states. That's at 5 hook states, at least you've juggled some hook states with other survivors and you got unlucky. If you're at 4, okay, someone was trying to tunnel you out specifically, but they incidentally got 1 hook in between. I feel like 6 is like, you hook someone, and then you hook 2 other people, and then you can't kill that first person because, oh wait, no, sorry, the 6 hook rule. I actually can't hook this person again because they'll just be in my way. And then if you down them and are like, okay, well, I can't pick them up because that's gonna sacrifice my 6 hook state, which makes it so that generators can't be regressed or blocked, and survivors gain a repair speed bonus if I kill this person. But then if you slug them, they have a 90-second unbreakable. So I don't know. I feel like this is just something that punishes really bad incidental games or really coordinated Swift teams who are just like, send in your one person to die, and then they end up winning the game off of it anyway. So They updated several survivor and killer perks to account for these changes. We'll see how that goes. And of course, you can disable the new mechanics in custom games. But this is one that I really don't like. I don't like that this has no range attached to it, so we'll see how that goes. And I really don't like that generators cannot be regressed or blocked if a survivor is killed before 6 total hook states. So, maybe I'm, no, actually, well, no, before 6 total. So if they die on the 6th hook. So, God, this is one of those things where I'm really apprehensive if the thing goes wrong in the negative way, but if it goes right in the way that I'm reading it, it could be a good thing. I don't know. We'll have to see how this goes. This will ruin a lot of killer streaks, though, which is fine. I think that killer streaks are kind of boring content anyway, but that's just my perspective. Anyway, elusive status effect. Added a new status effect that silences grunt of pain and suppresses survivor aura, pools of blood, and scratch marks. Ah, so this is you. you get base kit OTR off of being unhooked now for 10 seconds. That's wicked. That's wild. Okay. I've got nothing else to say about that. You get base kit off. You get a base kit of one of the best anti-tunnel perks in the game. Like, you don't even need to run off the record now to be able to do a lot of this for 10 seconds. Because I think that off the record, well, off the record, I don't know. 80 seconds is a decent duration of time, and even if you touch a generator, you still get the aura hiding and the silenced while injured for 80 seconds. But making this base kit, oh man, base kit off the record is kind of crazy, gotta say. Anyway, moving on. The Tomes lore update. New tomes and accompanying lore alongside a chapter release. Nice, so we are still doing tomes. Okay, cool. I don't really have a whole lot to say about this. I don't read the tomes very often, but I do like that we have new ones that are coming in. So thank you, Dead by Daylight, for more lore and stuff. I like passively hearing about lore of the game, I guess is the best way to put it. So knowing that that's there is still something nice to have at the end of the day. Killer updates. The Shape. Michael Myers is a dash killer now. It's basically what it's come down to, but replace evil with 2 modes that can be toggled with a button press. Either in Stalker mode, where you can detect, or you're undetectable and you can stalk survivors, and the Pursuer, where you're 105 here, and then 115 with a 24-meter tear radius, which is nice. So you have a smaller tear radius. You have increased vault speed while in Pursuer. You have bonuses to lunge range while in Pursuer. You have bonuses to break speed and stun recovery, but you cannot stalk survivors. Once the stalk meter is full, Evil Incarnate can be triggered at will, granting the following effects for a limited time. So let's say that you're in Pursuer mode, you have your stock meter full from being in Stalker mode for a little bit, you vault over a tile with Bamboozle, and then Evil Incarnate mode. You're 115, you have a 40-meter tear radius and increased vault speed. Press and hold the power button to charge, reducing movement speed. Press the attack button while charging to quickly lunge forward, which you can see here. Basically just a dash attack. Adjusting your angle as you move. The length of the lunge depends on the charge time. If a survivor enters the killer's attack range, they are knocked into the dying state, so they're basically exposed. This ability can also be used to destroy pallets. Oh my god. Whoa. Making Mikey a anti-loop killer. A dash, and this line here alone is stronger than the pig. I'm so sorry to say. Like, the fact that you can just be like, I'm gonna stalk, and I'm gonna get my massive strike, and then I'm gonna dash at you, and if my dash collides me with a pallet, I'm like Blight, where I can just break the pallet instantly. Also, I like this Nia that's just like standing here in this gif. That's kind of funny. Unlocks the ability to grab and kill or perform a regular Mori on survivors who would die the next time they are hooked. Grab and kill or perform a regular Mori. Ah, so I wonder if this affects the Evil Incarnate achievement now, where if a survivor is about to get hooked or about to be killed and they hop into a locker, you can just pull them out of the locker, drop them, and then Mori them anyway. I wonder if that affects the achievement. That'd be kind of interesting. Adjustments in the mechanics of stalking. Remove the limited pool of stock points per survivor. That's huge. That is massive. I mean, like, it's not so much like, oh, you know, I'm stalking this one survivor. It's just that sometimes you would stalk one survivor because they were the ones that weren't the best at hiding their stalk ability or their line of sight. And be like, dang, now I gotta go find someone else to get that. Reduced stalk range to 32 meters and removed distance modifier. That's, I mean, that's interesting. You can't get like cross map stalks now, I guess. It kind of sucks for like, it kind of sucks for stealthier play styles. I think they should keep the distance modifier, and I don't think they should have limited stalk range. This line kind of makes me a little bit concerned, but I guess if you're going maximum stalk and then you get evil incarnate, which is a pretty good power anyway, because you can break pallets and you have a lunge attack and you're exposing all survivors and all that sort of thing, it's not like a bad thing to reduce the stalk range overall, but I think that 32 meters is a little bit too short for a killer that wants to be stealthy and stalk from a distance. Some maps it works out really well for Mikey because of that, but that's just my opinion. Moving while stalking has increased movement speed but incurs a reduced stalk rate. So if you hold still and stalk, you stalk more, and then reworked add-ons. That, yeah, okay. So if you hold still, you stalk more. That's kind of cool. Yeah, this seems interesting. Breaking pallets while lunging seems insane. Because then you break a pallet and then you can charge the strike again. You combine that with some haste perks, and he basically becomes budget blight. It's like the best way I can think of this, but it's cool. Like, I think that it's still an interesting idea, and I think that being able to down somebody immediately while you have your evil incarnate mode active is its own unique thing. Like, blight can't insta down you, but it still break pallets. This can break pallets and insta down you, but it's on a limited timer, which I'm sure changes with add-ons anyway, so we'll see how that goes. The Clown. Increased activation time of the Afterpiece Antidote. Increase how long the Afterpiece tonic's hindered effects lingers after leaving smoke. That's nice. I think this is good. The antidote is the haste effect. I think it did need a little bit of skill expression to actually use, because there was a video that I had recently where I just threw it at my feet and I ran at people and that was it. And it was really not a whole, or a stream. I can't remember if it was a stream or a video actually, but I was playing Clown, and yeah, this just seemed like so brain dead. Just throw it at my feet and run at the survivor. Hindered effect also is nice, because then this actually makes hindered feel a lot more viable. So nice little like minor update. The Unknown. Increase the additional time added to weaken when injured by a UVX projectile. Thank the Lord. Because it sucked to hit somebody with the weaken and injure them and then be like, okay, I need to hit this next one, or I need to like really time out this perfectly, and you would lose the perfect hit on the Unknown in that regard. That just wasn't very fun. not very fun to have to play around that. Increased movement speed recovery after teleporting, very nice. Increased camera vertical range, heck yeah, that's nice. You can shoot much more straight up like you can with Springtrap. That'll be pretty cool to be able to lob things a little bit better and that way. And then adjusted several add-ons. I'm sure that this is going to be something that's like adjusting for blurry photo card, and maybe like B-movie poster or something like that. I really hope that they don't just nerf things because they added something else base kit, but when numbers come through, that'll be pretty cool. Also another broken gift, very nice. The Dark Lord. Slightly reduced Hellfire cooldown and increased Hellfire pillars by 1. Reduced Hellfire charge movement speed, slightly increased slowdown time after casting Hellfire. Ooh. So you're encouraged to use Hellfire, but you're encouraged to use it in more advantageous positions. You reduce the movement speed while charging it, so it becomes easier to loop them, and then also you're slowed down significantly after casting it, so you slightly increased it. I mean, I don't like Dracula very much, so I don't really have a perspective. It's neither here nor there for me on this one, but I don't know. Does this make Hellfire feel better, or are you just going to zone with M2 more again? I guess it does. Like, these two do make it so that you don't zone quite as much with it, but... And you're encouraged to actually use Hellfire because it was his weakest form, considering that Wolf form was just always better. That's how I felt about it, at least. Wolf form felt so much more consistent. I don't know. I'll have to see. Wolf form, increased pounce attack charge time. Oh boy. Increased Centaur spawn time. Oh boy. I mean, yeah, it makes sense. The cooldowns for these were ridiculously short. You could cycle through his forms quite frequently. Increased movement friction to make flying easier to control. Yeah, bouncing around like a pinball, especially on indoor maps for bat form. Indoor maps I'm bringing up a lot because I just think that they're a persistent problem for a lot of killer powers. But bat form, especially on indoor maps, was so irritating because you would just slide off of doorways and then you'd clumsily move your way through them eventually. So I do like this. Adjusted add-ons, that would be cool. That'll be nice to see what the add-on changes are when they finally do come through. The Ghoul. When grabbing a survivor on the other side of a vault with Kagane Leap, the survivor is released at the start of the Ghoul's vault instead of at the end. Thank the Lord, the kidnap tech is no more, because it was dumb as hell to see a Ghoul just be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna vault over with the Kagane Leap and make it so that you can't move and I hinder you and then I catch up to you and get a free M1. So this is a really good change. It is a medium update, but it might as well be a major one because this is something that I think was elevating a lot of the Ghoul's position on the tier list overall and made him really annoying in short loops, so I'm very happy about this. The Oni. Hooking a survivor now spawns more blood orbs. We understand that with the changes we're making to address slugging, this will impact the Oni slightly, so we want to mitigate this by turning hooked survivors into a greater source of power gauge buildup. The Oni is rewarded with more quickly snowballing power by hooking. I mean, were you really snowballing by hooking, though? Like, when you slug a survivor in Oni's power, it's because keeping them on the ground and making them unable to interact with the rest of the game is a lot more powerful than giving them, this is a set location where I will gain all of these buffs immediately upon being unhooked, and also the Oni loses his power when he hooks somebody. So maybe with the more blood orbs being spawned, it gives you the opportunity to do that, but really realistically with the Oni, you're trying to get the most value out of your power by using the entire power gauge. But maybe this is also a really good buff anyway, because if you slug a bunch of people in consecutive fashion and then you hook them right away and then get another blood fury and then you can just run at people immediately again and start downing them, maybe this is still fine. Maybe this is okay. Who knows? We'll have to see how this feels. Again, Oni is not a character that I play very often. I don't mind the Oni now that I understand how to play him a little bit better. But the Oni is a weird one. So we'll have to see how that goes. Perk updates. Updated various perks. Okay. We'll see how that goes. And looks like that's all that there is for the forum update. A lot of very controversial changes. I am certain that DBD Twitter is going to be ablaze for the next week until Tuesday. For all of until the update comes through. So very interesting update. I am excited to see the absolute hellfire that this this update will cause when it comes to PTB. And yeah, I think that's all I really have to say about it. Thank you all for listening to me ramble for a little while here. I am going to be gone this weekend. So Saturday, Sunday, I'm actually leaving tonight, Friday night, going up to Seattle so that I can attend PAX West. If you're also going to PAX West on Saturday, you might see me there, just in case that there is that chance, that opportunity. Otherwise, thank you all so much for watching this video. I will see you in the next one, and goodbye.